Hello everyone, this is a video of me playing 20XX Tournament Edition by Dan Salvato, which was released yesterday as I'm recording this. And if you notice Fox's shine right here, I'm actually using PAL characters, and in fact I'm also using a RGB SCART cable for my TV. But in any case, what I want to show you in this video is how to mod your NTSC ISO to have PAL characters with functioning replays. And I'm also going to show you how to update for 20XX Tournament Edition in the future. And keep in mind that this is just like a small hack that I cut and pasted together in the span of a few hours. I haven't really debugged it or anything. And it's not officially endorsed or supported by Dan Salvato, or Nintendo, obviously. But if you don't want to do that at all, just skip it, because after that I'm going to show you how to transfer all the files between your Wii and Dolphin. Then I'm going to show you how to record and encode it for YouTube. And after that, I'm going to have some extra optional bits. Like, for example, you might want to splice together 3 or 5 games to have an entire set in a YouTube video. Maybe you want to have input displays or widescreen in your videos. Perhaps you'll have a lot of videos to encode, so you don't want everyone to be the highest possible quality. So you just want to encode it for speed. Or you just have, or you want to make a cool combo video and have everything to be in 4K 60 FPS, absolutely stunning quality on everything. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so here we have a couple files. And in the description of this video, I have all the file replacements in a neat little file. If you're wondering what these are, it's just the data files for the actual characters. So for example, this is Falco's data file, and it says that, like for example, this contains the change that his down air has in PAL. This is Fox's, and that controls, for example, his up B hitbox size, his up smash strength, his up air strength, his up B length, and all the changes to Fox. So we also have the GC rebuilder, and both of these are included in the download that I provide. So what we need to do is to open up GC rebuilder, open up an image, and we need to open a 1.02 ISO of Dolphin, of Melee. Here we go. And you get this, and you want to extract the root, export, and then you browse to wherever you want to export it to. And when you do that, you get this one, a root with all the contents of the ISO, including some system data. So you take the file replacements, copy them, you go to the roots and paste them over here, and then you just replace all of the files. Now, if you want a PAL signal on your Wii, then you can take the ISO.header file, and then you need to start a hex editor. I'm using hxd.exe. And then you can open them up here. And if you do that, you also need to take the 20XX Tournament Edition save file that you download from 20xx.me. You can open that up as well. So if you want a PAL signal, Some loaders on Wii don't really like to force a PAL signal on Melee, most notably Nintendont, in my experience. So what you need to do is to change the GALE header right here to a P, and that will make the Wii read it as a PAL ISO natively, and then you save that. However, this also means that the the save file that your Wii is trying to read from also needs to be a PAL. So when you open up the save file for Tournament Edition, you need to do the same thing with the header here and just change the E to a P and save that. And whenever you update TwinXX Tournament Edition, if you have changed your ISO to a PAL one, you need to do the same with all the ones that you create, or all the new versions that you download. You need to do this too. And then you can turn that off, and you might as well just erase the backups. They don't really do anything. Back up here. So now you want to rebuild this ISO. So you close this one, and then you go to root, open, and then you need to find the root in your folders. So I have mine in a deep folder. See, right there it is. Alright. So now I loaded the root, and I need to save it somewhere. And I'm gonna save it to this ISO right here. Save. I want to replace it. Yes. And then rebuild. And as you might see here, if I take this up, it's gonna rebuild, and it's gonna take a few minutes maybe. Depending on your computer speed, it might be faster or slower. But I'm gonna resume after it's done with that. Alright, so we have built our ISOs, and I actually made an extra ISO without the PAL signal modification. So this is still with PAL characters, but without changing the header to GALP. And I also have another memory card save file without the GALP modification to the header. And that's going to be useful later when we want to dump our videos and replays, and then maybe encode them and upload to YouTube. But in any case, we want to test if this works right now. So let's go to our memory cards and open, let's close that. We have Dolphin right here. So we need to open the memory card manager and then create a new memory card. And we're going to name it GALP.raw. And if you have an NTSC signal, you want an E on the end instead of a P. But right now we want to have a PAL signal. So open that. Delete whatever is on it. And go to our modified save files, import that, close, make sure that the correct memory card is loaded, make sure that you're not dumping frames or anything, start the PAL signal ISO that we made, play, and now it's complaining that the file name of the memory card doesn't have a flag. But if you press yes, all it's going to do is make a copy of the one we made and then add another file with this file name. So just press yes. Ignore that. You can actually notice now that the aspect ratio is different because it's a PAL signal, so that's kind of funny. Go to name entry to see if it worked. and it seems to work fine. We have the options menu, and we have our replay menu right here. If you press Z, you can actually hold R to turbo all the menus here. So if you have an ID like far away, you can get that quickly. And we actually don't have any replays right now, so we're not going to bother with that. So if you're just using Dolphin, then you're pretty much done right now. However, we want to export this to Nintendont, so just close that. And then we go to our Nintendont folder, go to games and create a new folder for Tournament Edition. And then we copy whatever ISO you want. I'm gonna copy this one over here, like that, copy here, and then rename it to game.iso. And then we go to saves, and we take our galp.raw and copy it over. And I already have a save file right here, and that save file actually already has a replay that I want to dump and encode. So I'm not going to copy this, but you probably want to do that. And make sure that you don't have any other weird save files that the game could possibly read from, because you don't want to have any conflicts. In any case, now let's just pretend that we put that in our Wii, it works fine, we record a replay, and we want to make a video file out of that. So let's just erase these, we don't need them. And then copy the save file from Nintendont over here. And let's open up Dolphin again. Alright. So now we're going to want to go to Memory Card Manager. Open or make a new memory card. And we want to name this Gale.raw. Actually, .usa.raw, so we don't get that error message. And open that up. Delete. And then we have, actually you can just go straight to your saves here and open that up. That works just as well. So for the Gale.usa save file, you want to import the original Tournament Edition save file. So go wherever you have that and import the NTSC one. Now if we were to try to just copy this over immediately, it wouldn't work because this has a flag for PAL. If you didn't put a flag for PAL on your Nintendont folder, then you can just like copy it over like that. However, since this is flagged for PAL, we need to export it and edit it with a hex editor. So let's do that. Save. Open our hex editor right here. And here we have our memory files. Actually, we can just delete that. Oh, it might actually be over here right now. No? This can be kind of confusing. Oh, it's saved there. Alright. Never mind. So here is our replay. And if we look at the data here, we can see that it's flagged for PAL. So just change that to an E, as in America, or NTSC, I don't know. Save that, exit. And I think you can just drag this over here actually. No. Import, and then the edited file. And this is now like the name still, the file name is still gal, but that doesn't matter. Close. Now we want to make sure that the correct memory card is loaded, which is this one. Okay. Make sure you're not already dumping frames or anything. You should probably also make sure that cheats are disabled in case you have cheats in any other melee games. And now we want to look at the graphics settings. So right now I'm just going to have the lowest possible settings to see if everything works fine, because we want speed right now. If you have a better computer, you can increase this already, but we're not going to do that. Start the NTSC signal ISO, play. And yeah, you can notice the aspect ratio is different right now because we have an NTSC signal. So go to name entry. And this is a new 20xx save file. So it's gonna create some a settings file, but that's fine. So right now we can mess around with the settings. If you have made the replay with certain settings, then you probably want to have them on as you probably want to have the settings in the exact same way when you play the recording back as you had it when you actually recorded it. So if you have any weird settings on, you should probably do that. Training wheels, infinite shields, you know. However, I didn't have any of that, so let's just save and exit and see if our replay works. So load it from A0. Done. Okay, play replay. And this seems to work pretty good. Still PAL characters, everything is syncing. You can turn on extra stuff. We can frame advance. If you turn on frame advance, hold X and then press pause, you can frame advance to a certain frame and then pause and then look on something from the side, for example. And you can even do that while dumping frames, if you'd so like. So this frame, I want to see what happens. And look at the hitboxes, and it seems that actually it seems like the hitboxes and the actual 3D models are desynced for some reason. That's not usually what happens in normal melee, but in any case, it seems to work. And you probably want to watch the whole replay through to make sure it syncs, and especially since right now in this early version there's a bug with emulators, especially I think, that makes replays sometimes desync, and that's going to be fixed eventually in the next few days, according to Dan Salvato. So you probably want to update your 20xx version or TA version when that happens. But now that we've confirmed that the replay works, we can start working on dumping the file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to graphic settings, and then I'm going to have some really nice quality source file. And right now, if you'll notice, we're only gonna get like 10 FPS at best because we have a lot of uh, we have a very high quality game feed right now. However, we're not gonna play in this mode. We're only gonna play back a recording. So the FPS actually doesn't matter. The only thing the FPS does is make the dumping faster. So you can do this on a very old computer as long as you can run Dolphin at all. Uh, the better your computer is, the faster it's gonna be, obviously. So right now I want to turn on widescreen mode, and I want to turn on none of that. I want to turn on L cancel and flash on unsuccessful and unfreeze game end, because that's how I recorded it. If you recorded it with it, I'm pretty sure you can just have it off if you so like. This is how I want to do it right now. And you will notice that we still have a small black border right here, and that's pretty much unavoidable because right now the aspect ratio is as close to the original as possible. However, if you were to stretch the video more, the game would look weird. So right now it's widescreen, but it's showing all the pixels that the game can render, and it can't render the extra few pixels on each side. So if you choose to stretch it, you can do that later, but the source file is only going to be this size. In any case, we're going to load from memory card, and hover over play replay. Now we want to pause the emulation on Dolphin and start dumping frames. So I want to hold A so that it starts the replay as soon as I unpause the emulation. Now we get an option for how we want to compress the video, and I would recommend Logarithm. You can see my settings over here. And now we're dumping frames in 4 frames per second. So if you have like a 7-minute game and maybe 3 games in a set, obviously it's going to take a lot of time, but you can make it go faster by lowering your quality settings or by using a faster computer, obviously. Right now we just want to dump a couple frames and see what the result looks like. So I'm gonna get back to you with that in a second. Alright, so now we have dumped a few frames, and I've actually dumped from a few extra recordings just to show you what can happen. So we have 3 frame dump tests here, and they are labeled frame dump 0. And then whenever this reaches like 1.5 or 2 gigabytes, it switches over to frame dump 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And actually you can see just for this one file we have 42 megabytes for 6 seconds of video. So if you have a very high quality source file and it's a long match, then you can very quickly reach tens of gigabytes of data. So keep that in mind. In any case, we're gonna preview this. See what happens. And we can see that we put widescreen on, however the game feed is still 4:3. In addition to that, the video is actually shifted a bit, so all this black border is also recorded and in the video file, but the actual game video is off to the left, which looks ugly and is tricky to crop out in a video, especially of this size, although it can be done. But you want to avoid that if possible. Now this is another test with another match that I recorded and played back. And it's quite large. So what you can see here is you can see that this is actually widescreen, and if you look at it closely, you can actually see that the aspect ratio is correct even though it's widescreen, which is really good. However, if you want to have this kind of a widescreen video, you need to actually record your matches in widescreen. And I think the reason for that is desync problems if you do it differently. So that's something to remember, that if you want to have a widescreen video to upload, you need to actually record the game in widescreen while you're playing it. And then the third test here is it's the first match again. However, now everything is centered and nice, and it looks beautiful. So the error we did with the first test was that we recorded it while in windowed mode on Dolphin, and frame dumping in Dolphin can be a bit weird sometimes. So if you want to dump video on Dolphin, I would probably recommend full screening it and playing it that way. So with that out of the way, we're gonna make a full dump of the whole recording that we made until we get all the files that we want so we can work with them. So I'm going to do that right now. Alright, so we are done dumping our video right now, and we got DSP dump, which contains the audio. And then we also got the frame dump right here. And you can see this is the 2 gigabit file for 37 seconds, so the bytes per second is fairly high. So unless you have a really good computer or something like that, it's unlikely you can actually watch this video in real time, at least at full frames. But this is our source video, and that's what we're going to use. I actually got frame dump 1 as well, but since this is just a test and I wanted to encode quickly, I just deleted that. If you have a full match, you will have to save all of the dumps and then splice them together. So the programs, or actually I can show you, all these files will be in your Dolphin folder under dump in frames and audio. So in any case, now you need a couple programs. You need to get x264.exe, you need to get AVSynth, and also you need to get virtual dub. And if you're unfamiliar with this, and it's quite complicated, you don't really have to bother too much with it. I will provide you with the codes that you need. However, if you want to read more about it, you can, for example, you can take these commands and Google them. And I'm not going to explain all that because it would take too long. However, these convert the color matrices. So if you Google it, for example, you can read here that Rec 709 uses 709 coefficients, full range 0 to 255 RGB, which is what our source is, because we dumped lossless frames from an emulator that uses, let's see, actually I would have to dump frames to show that. But when we dumped frames, we dumped full RGB values, and then we're going to convert them to TV because that's what YouTube supports. But if that sounds complicated, don't really bother with these two lines, but they're important to have. This one defines what your sources are. So if you have multiple sources, for example, you can add them like this. And what this will do is just like take this AVI and encode it, and then take the next AVI and splice it together right after the first one, and then the third one, and so on and so forth. But we only have one video file right now, so we only need this one line. Point resize, it up or downscales your video. So depending on your source and depending on what output file you want, or what resolution you want the output file to be, you will need to think a little bit about what your source file is and what resolution you want it to be in when you're done. So for example, right now we dumped it in 1080p. So if we double that, we would get 4K resolution. And for YouTube, if you can afford it, I would actually recommend to always dump in, or I would recommend to always at least upscale it to 4K, even if you only want to watch it in 1080p yourself, because of how YouTube always encodes all the files that you upload to it. And if you give it a larger source file, that encode will be a lot better for 1080p compared to if you had a 1080p video and upload it, and then their encode would be worse than if you had a source file uploaded in 4K. But if you just want to be quick about it, you can dump it in 640, and then in the script file you could put this to 1, or you could just like delete it altogether. Both of them have to be 1, of course, unless you want a very funnily stretched video. The way you calculate your resolutions is, well, if you record it in native, then you can just like look at this and see what upscaling you want. Or if, let's say, you record it in 2x and you want 4K, then you can see that you need to upscale it by 3. So you would put times 3 in the script to get 4K out of 720p from a source file. And if you want to, you can actually even look at all the resolutions and aspect ratios and whatever, look them up and be as complicated as you want with it. But what I am going to do is take a 1080p video and upscale it to 4K, and that's what this line of code does. Now, we also are going to have to use the command window in order to execute the X264, since it doesn't have a user interface. And that also has its own parameters. So for example, this parameter, it says that we take the we want the output file to become TV range. Like I said before, is what YouTube supports. It doesn't support full range. So if you take the parameter here to be full, the output file will be full RGB, but whenever you upload it to YouTube, YouTube itself will convert it to TV. So you might as well do it yourself, so that to control the quality a little bit more. That it's just like a very small thing, but it's good to have there in the color matrix again. But the only thing you really need to worry about are these two last parameters, and this is the AVS file, the script file that we have right here, and this right here is the output file that you want. So this is the name of the file, and this is the format that you're gonna output it in. You could try and output it to MP4. However, it doesn't. X264 usually don't support that anymore, or you can compile it yourself and add it or something. But since we want to mux this later, I'll just use MKV for now. You could also do AVI, I guess, but I think MKV is more efficient. But if you're feeling confused right now and it's a lot of weird codes that you don't understand, you could basically just copy paste this and change the names, or you could change the upscaling. We don't have a framedump1.avi, so let's remove that. We want to upscale it to 4K, save it, and then I already have all the command code saved right here, and it should work. So the easiest way to open the command window right here is to hold shift, right click, and then open command window here. And now we can actually right click and just paste the code. And now you can see the progress right here. It will encode all the frames and put them in one video for you. And I will be back when it's done. Okay, so we are done encoding our file. Great. Now we have the file mkv right here. We can look at it. And of course it's 4K, so it needs to buffer. It probably still can't display all the frames. Yeah, you can see it's weird and buggy. But anyway, that's our source file, and you can like zoom in really a lot and, well, just inspect the quality of it. Anyway, now we're gonna use another program, because this file doesn't have any audio in it yet. So let's open that up. Here we have it, mkv toolnix. And yeah, this is a preview. It might be an old version that I have, but it's fine. Anyway, let's add that file and also add the audio file. Okay, so these are our input files, and we're going to output a MKV, and that's our finished product that we'll upload to YouTube. There are some things you could do with this. So if you want a file you can play on your computer, there are some commands you can put here, if I remember. There are also a lot of settings you can change if you didn't do that already in the avsynth script, and some flags. But what we're going to do right now is just like add the audio to the MKV and output it to this file. So we'll start muxing it, and you can see the progress right here. And now it's done. So let's upload this to YouTube. I'm gonna turn that off. Here's our finished product. You can see it's almost 2 gigabytes for 37 seconds. You can preview it. It might look weird. The audio is desynced, for example, but that's just because this is such a large file and so many bytes of data per second that usually your video player is just gonna be buggy or even crash. If you have a very large file like this, it's very unlikely that you will be able to preview it like you really want. So what you want to do, that if you want to do that, is just basically downscale it or limit the file size of the finished product. And that's something you can do with the other programs. But right now, let's upload this. And I'll put it as unlisted. I'm just gonna take it, name it nearly 4K 20x XTE test. Done. And then you just wait while it uploads, and it's gonna take a long time depending on how large the file is, but that's something you're gonna have to live with. But yeah, that's basically the whole tutorial. So if you stayed for the whole while, thank you for watching, and I hope this helps. So yeah, goodbye.